Hello, hello, hello. I'm making a spaghetti monster putty video for you. And it's putty time. It's nice. Nice putty time talking about ethics, philosophy, metaphysics, psychology, and politics. It's nice. Yes, it matches this. It stretches and stretches. And it is wonderful. It's very relaxing. It's been raining last night, this morning, and it's wonderful for the plants. Let's do a meditation on dropping any kind of attachment to society's opinions and approval and all of that. Let's drop it all. See, the twist in all of this is that if a man who's so afraid of what the other man will think of him, if he just dropped all of this fear, suddenly the women would like him. See, that's the ironic thing about it. He wants the women, but he's more afraid of what the other men will think of him. You know, like being outcast, being labeled something, you know, fat women lover or whatever, you know, or low class. You know, that's a big fear in a lot of men, to be labeled low class. Oh, wow, that's like, man, that fear is so big, isn't it? It's so big that they will bend over backwards to end up in a hospital just to avoid being being labeled low class. I mean, the kind of effort they put into avoiding this kind of rejection from society. Why don't we just drop all of this right now? And just drop it right now. Just drop it and see what happens. There are a few guys in the chat rooms, I mentioned this before, you know, that they also are afraid. They're also incognito, okay? But at least they are in their third mirror of the mirror incognito avatar. They're not afraid to flirt and be playful and all of this and be a child. So they're not afraid. And that third hidden hideaway mask in their real life, with their real name and their real photo, well, they probably have a job at the bank. And I know they don't want to be seen flirting with a fat woman or chubby woman. They can only be seen with a woman that is skin and bones, because it's prestige, It's like, man, that guy has class. That's what they want to hear. That's what they want to feel. And the whole thing is a complete lie. It's a social lie. It's a self lie. It goes against their own needs. It goes against their own bodies. Okay. And the women that are anorexic, and I have a friend, and I love her deeply. Okay. Deeply. She's my best friend on the internet. She has infinity in her, but yet she starves herself because of a fear, of the fear of the same thing with the man. It's this fear of falling, falling from grace, falling from esteem, falling from social acceptance. And it becomes an automated thing. It becomes incorporated into the ego. The same with the men wanting to show off with the photo model. The women want to be the photo model. That they find that they think that's the highest of all, highest class. I'm not going to say a name now because I want to protect her. So I'm going to call her Bambi Dia. She's my Bambi Dia. And I want to say, Bambi Dia, I love you so infinitely much. You sweet being. I was feeding the Bambi deers the other day with apples, and the way they're eating these apples with so much gratitude. And I'm thinking about Bambi dear girl. I want you to eat apples. Eat lots of apples. Make lots of vegan milkshakes with the apples. And feed your precious body. She's an animal rights activist and has rescued so many beings already. You gotta nurture your body. You gotta nurse yourself to health and strength, and embrace the beauty that you are. Embrace the beauty that you are. I've seen some photos. She's shown me a photo on her Facebook page. She's absolutely gorgeous. But now she's real thin. And I'm worried for her. Really worried. It makes me cry. Baby dear. Don't worry about what other people think of you. Don't be a slave to society. You know you're infinitely precious and gorgeous on all levels. You don't need to cater to Calvin Klein and the fashion industry standards and society. I'm not going to say haute couture because most of them in haute couture has catered to this twiggy image, but there's a shift happening now, so that's very good. That's a healthy shift happening now. There are some haute couture designers that are shifting over to a healthy body image and body weight. So, and some of them also include chubbier women like myself. I'm glad to see that because the fashion industry has an enormous psychological impression on people and influence on their psychology. And it shouldn't be that way, you know. When you watch a fashion show or when you look at the Vogue magazine or something and you admire the beautiful images, the glamour of it, you know, the clean, glamorous appeal. Don't be swept up by this imperative that wants to come through in those images. Don't be swept up by this. Look at it, say, yeah, beautiful clothes, but I don't want to be that thin. I don't want to cater to society. I want to enjoy my life, you know. I want to have fun. I want to be sexual. I want to be sensual, you know. I don't want to be a slave in any way to anyone or anything. It's wonderful to embrace your sexuality and your sensuality and your body. It's wonderful. There's so much shame attached to it through through hundreds of years. Why is this? Friedrich Nietzsche already talked about this. You know, they're anorexic and starved. The people of Christianity and, you know, conventionalism, and already during his time where the women weren't, where that was pre-Twiggy, you know, where they were still voluptuous. So not as voluptuous as I am, but like they were normal to a little bit chubby. So during 1870 or up to 1900, when my grandmother was born. My grandmother was born the year Friedrich Nietzsche died. I miss her very much. But even during that time, he saw that people were, it was more in regards to psychology than the physique. but it ties right into it. It's made out of the same energetic material. How he criticized that people during his time, how they were attaching a stigma to sexuality and sensuality. And this theme was just picked up by Twiggy and that entire fad of they just grooved into the same old anorexic and starved mindset of that what was already there, with all the stigmatization and the shame attached to being thick and sensual and lust and physical pleasures. All of these things, this is part of life. This is, are you gonna shame a flower for soaking up water and blooming? Some flowers, they look like a vagina. That's why the flower itself, in general, is the symbol of the woman. So now people embrace flowers, including orchids or lady slippers. that are, I think it's a form of orchid, and it does look like a vagina with the clitoris. It's kind of cute, is that, you know? And people will buy that, cultivate that, get obsessed about it. They have their orchid collection in their greenhouses. But the shame towards the woman, the human woman, yeah, that's still lingering underneath. Why? Why? All this awkwardness, shame, the little snickering, the little embarrassment. Yeah, I have embarrassment too, and I have awkwardness, but I certainly don't have shame. I'm not ashamed for being a woman. And this is a theme that runs through my entire life. I also have been sexually abused. Almost all girls have been. Almost all girls. It shouldn't come to you as a surprise, because every one of you know, all of you know how that goes. The men with their fantasies know it very well. They know what they have done to their daughters, stepdaughters, other people's kids, nieces, grandkids, and so on. And the girls know it, no matter how much they try to hide it. The more we hide the truth, the more it will come knocking on the door. Particularly at night when we're trying to sleep, it will really come. Because it wants to be heard. And once you have silenced your radios and all of this, that ghost from the past will come up and knock on the door and say, hey, I want to be heard. I want you to hear me. I'm hurting. And the ego says, go away. I don't want to have anything to do with that. I wasn't abused, says the ego. And the inner child says, hear me. I'm hurting. Until you embrace that inner child and take her into your arms, or if you're a man, take your inner boy into your arms. Until that happens, it will haunt you and spook towards you for the rest of your life, and it can even make people crazy. It can get so bad that other entities will attach themselves onto it, and then people start hearing voices. Okay, that's what happens. That's the whole mystery about all of this. Okay. And medication does not fix this situation. It just tries to drown it out. It tries to numb it down, but it will not be drowned out. It will not let anything drown it. It can't be drowned. Okay, that pain, because that pain is a reality, and that pain is there. You can't chase it away because it is part of you. Okay, and until we make peace with it and allow it to come up, and you listen to it as much as it hurts, and as much as it is painful and excruciating, then only then can peace come into the brain of humans. For men, it is, many men have been abused too. Okay. Many gay men, also many straight men, okay, have been abused as children, usually by men, or very rarely by women. These are just the broad statistical, picture. It's not. I don't have numbers for you, but it's just a broad statistical picture of the situation. And it's very shocking. It's very sad. Just for anyone out there who is afraid to talk about it, well, first of all, you are not alone. It's like the vast majority of humans, I would say 99.99%, okay, that have been affected. That's just my raw estimation. Only a minority of people will talk about it, will bring it up, will be vocal about it. Okay. I'm vocal about my life and about who I am because I believe, first of all, I know that it is important that I listen to my inner voice and my inner child, and that I make peace with it. And it's also important that I share that with the public so that other people can be encouraged to do the same and heal their own inner wounds as well. So for men, the pain is mommy wasn't there for me, didn't love me, didn't feel me, didn't see me. That's the same pain for women as well. And women, in addition to that, have the sexual abuse that they have to carry on their shoulders throughout their whole lives. But men have it even rougher as adults. In particular, straight men have it the roughest because they identify also through their sexuality, of course, so their identification with being the man, and then they attach their egos to the ancient old story and of role distribution from society. So they all attach themselves to that. For some societies, it is much more extreme than in others. Well, in the Muslim world, it's certainly the most extreme. I don't need to explain that to people. So then right after that comes the Christian religion and their ideas of what the male role is supposed to be, which is all wrong. All of it is completely wrong. We women don't even want that. We don't want some hunter dude. Okay, we don't want this bullshit of a man who drinks beer in his undershirt and watches soccer games or something, or football or basketball. We don't want that. We're not impressed with that. What's really impressing, what really makes a lasting impression on the woman, and I see this throughout all of the different cultural backgrounds on the internet. It's really interesting to observe this. All women, deep down, if maybe they're not consciously aware of it, but deep down they are very impressed with a man who can be a mellow teddy bear. You know, I see this teddy bear thing has even gone into mainstream now, but people still don't know what they're talking about because they're still, you know, they're still listening to the same old school storyline. So yes, we want a strong built, big, muscular man who can protect us. But we don't want a hunter. We don't want someone who beats us. Okay? We want a protector. We want someone we feel safe with. We want someone where we can talk to them all night long about our deepest depths of our emotions without ever fearing his ego slapping us. There are men that will, there are men out there, they are so on edge that one wrong word will trigger a slapping response, actually. Or on the internet, it will be a man who first really into the woman and she says the wrong thing and suddenly he says, I bet you're a guy. After a year of wooing her, you know. So, but that's the same thing as slapping her, you know. That's their way of slapping her. So that's an instant retaliation, you know, to make sure she's really hurt. That doesn't make the world a better place. It doesn't make women feel safe and comfortable. No, it makes women click the block button. That's what they do. Bye. Never see you again. And if they come back with another channel, trying it again with a different approach, it won't take very long until the psychology comes back up and shows its true colors. And it will happen until the guy sits down in meditation and resolves these inner issues from childhood. This gruesome pain from childhood of mama not feeling him, loving him enough. And that seems to be the case with almost all humans. 99.99% of humans have not really been loved by their mothers. Not the way they needed to be loved. The mothers, they probably hear me say this and they go, what are you talking about? I loved my son. I even saw a documentary on this where the woman was, you know, the daughter became a heroin addict, and I don't know what happened to the daughter later on. I didn't watch the whole documentary film. It was too depressing for me. I can't stand it. But they interviewed the mother and the father, and it couldn't be more so incredibly obvious. You know, they're like Christians with a cross on the wall, and like really like prudent type of, without any playfulness whatsoever. There's no fluidity in these people. They sit there like stagnant sticks on that couch, and with the photo album in their hand, and the mother like, I was there for her, I don't understand why this is happening, and no, she was not there. She's not even there for herself. How can she be there for her daughter? How can anyone be there for their child if they have a torture instrument of Jesus Christ on a cross hanging on the wall? Thank goodness I don't have it. I have the blue God hanging on my wall. A blue God, the infinity sign, the infinite cosmos, infinite fluidity, sensuality, sexuality, maternity, love, giving, caring, kindness. That's the only thing I want in my life. And I also want that in a man. So my husband has that, and that's why we're together. We're not sexually compatible, okay? So what he needs is, he needs a petite little girl. That's what he needs. Not big old mama, okay? So but friendship to a nurturing man is more important to me than the dating type of stuff, It's way more important. Dating, like I see a hot guy and then I see he's violent. It's like instantly devalued, instantly crossed out. Or I see someone who's racist and uses profanity and is vulgar and crude. No, that's violence. I'm done. Thank you. No. Next. No, not going for it. And if there's nobody who's kind like Elon Musk, who ever see me, ever notice me, ever get to meet me, then so be it. And I'll stay here in this monastery for the rest of my life, okay? We want teddy bears and really mean it, really. Not some hot Turkish dude who pretends he's the teddy bear, but at home he'll close the windows and the blinds and put a chador over the woman so that no other man can see her. No, we don't want that. No. That is not what we're here for on this planet. Okay? We're here to learn and grow, not to be put into a casket, not to be locked away like some kind of precious doll or something. We're living beings, and we live, each living being, a dog, a horse, a woman, a man, a pig, every being, bird, fish, amphibian, reptile, all beings live here for their own reasons, for their own evolutionary reasons. Okay? And they live here because they have been proliferated by the host mother. Okay, so, and they want to exist. They're not thinking about the meaning of life or anything. They're here, these beings, including the sea cucumbers. I always like to use that as an example. The sea cucumber. It's just like they're about this size also. They look like this. Hello. Yeah, and it just sits there, like it doesn't move, but it's an animal. It's it's like a hybrid, between a plant and an animal, but it's an individual thing. It poops, so it sucks up the sludge with sand and everything, goes to the body, just like a jellyfish, or these jello type of things that wash up sometimes. They look like glass. They're like completely transparent. It's beautiful, and you can see how they suck up the sand and then they poop it out. And something fertile comes out there for the other plants and stuff. Yeah, and they just want to live and exist. So we all, our bodies all want to live and exist, and we want to nurture ourselves. They want to be nursed and nurtured. They're not thinking about prestige. My body cells don't want prestige. They don't want that. Go away, they say. We want to be nurtured. We want to be petted. We want to be loved, massaged. We like all the perfume oil, blue cotton candy. We love all of this. This is pure love for us. We love all of that. We're not thinking about what some dude somewhere thinks of us, whether we're high class or low class or this or that. It doesn't mean anything. Or whether our host body, brain thinks philosophically and reads Nietzsche or not. My cells don't care. They want to be loved. And the same with the sea cucumber and all beings and all cells and all plants too. They want to be nurtured. They want to be loved. Sending love to a plant, you will be amazed what that does for the plant. Real love energy, real loving glance towards the tree. You will be amazed what that does. When we moved to this house, the cedar trees in front of the house had a lot of dried up, like orangey needles already hanging in certain parts. And I went there and I did all kinds of things. I talked to the trees. I put tree sap from a different tree into some of the holes where the bark beetles got into those. I stuffed that in there. Some other tree gave his tree sap for this tree, and I touched them a lot, and I sang a lot of songs while Kenny was alive. And there was a phase in 2014 where I composed, like I mentioned it yesterday, I composed medieval songs, like between 1100 and 1400, these, this particular time span, where a lot of beautiful music was composed. Walter von der Vogelweide, Neidhard von Reuenthal, amazing Germanic minne singers that were composing, that were of the more educated background, and they were singing for the princesses and for the queens, and sometimes they got the princess to fall in love with them because of the songs. So I sang a lot of songs for the trees, and we also watered them during the summertime, and all of this made the trees. And then there was a hobby botanist that visited us in 2010, and he said, "Oh," he said, "those are Port Orford cedar trees, and they are not. So because I studied this very clearly, those are regular cedar trees. The Port Orford cedar is actually a cypress tree. So they named that tree wrong, but that name stuck with that tree. So we had a Port Orford at the other house that died. So, but these here they had some brown spots, and so that guy thought they were Port Orfords, and he thought they were affected. And I know they're not. There's the regular cedar trees, and the love and all the nurturing and all of this, and also, green living, living completely green and in a natural biodynamic life cycle with composting, bringing the nutrients back into the earth. All of that saved these trees, and everything came back to life. It's amazing. It's amazing how the plants that were already here before we moved here, how they have flowered and bloomed and proliferated. And in the beginning, we had no privacy on that side of the fence. And now the shrubs have grown there, and many trees have grown in this middle area that's on an elevated plateau. And they have grown up to 10 times the size or more than they were in the beginning. And now we almost have complete privacy now. I mean, there are still some areas where the neighbor could potentially peek through, but I'm not going to worry about this. I take my nude bath in the garden and I love it. I put bentonite clay in it. I look into the sky. Sometimes at night it's amazing, but at any time of the day. And it's raining right now, and I'll also do this in the rain. So I think it's absolutely lovely. It's fantastic. It's very healing. And then I soak in that bathtub for like an hour or so, until the water gets lukewarm, and then I get out. And we have the hose with the shower. It's connected to hot water, and I rinse off the clay with hot water coming out of the shower out there in the garden, and it's beautiful. Absolutely lovely. So the kind of stuff I have learned in these last 10 years about holistic healing is so remarkable and so infinitely precious. And some of this is so logical and so straightforward, and yet the majority of people don't know it. They walk right past it. They don't even want to hear about it. Some people actually identify themselves with their illnesses or their predicament in a hospital or whatever. They identify themselves with that. And by doing this, they have bypassed their own existence. I've had conversations with people in last stage terminal illness situations, including my best friend Birgit in 2008. And they're in complete egoic resistance. It's like and I'm not saying that in a harsh way, but their egos, their self-defense mechanisms have identified themselves with their illness. And illness is not a powerful thing. An illness is just a symptom. It's the tip of the iceberg of an illness is only the result of self-abuse, of years of self-abuse, of, being a Christian with the cross, worshiping a torture instrument. I have the blue God. And it's a belief system too, but it's also truth. And this flying spaghetti monster, not to forget. Yes, it's a belief system, but it's also truth. Yes, that is the truth. I am reality. You can see me here. Reality. So, yeah, they go into resistance to undoing that identification. And then tragically do themselves in with that resistance towards truth and self-liberation. So they prefer to stay stuck in that cage, in that kennel, in that crate, in that casket, in that chador, in that illness, in that situation, in that bad relationship, whatever it is. They prefer to stay stuck in that. Because the ego's, the psychological defense mechanism has, their